Very good. So now on this map showing here, it is very clear that this site slopes from 113 level to the least will be 100. So actually, most of the west side of the site is actually high, except for a little part in the western south corner where it slopes down to 112. But most of the western side of this site is actually 113, or almost all of it, like more than 80% of it. And the lowest point on the site is to the east side, east-south corner of the site, which is 100. When we see a site like this, the first thing that comes to our mind, let me ask Mr. Brooks, what comes to your mind when you see a site like that? It's sloping from the west to the southeast. What comes to your mind?
It has hills. Like
it's like a hill. Yeah, it's like one side of a hill, because we didn't reach. We don't know whether 113 is the highest point or not, but yes, it's a hilly side. Yes. So where do you think the water will? How would it go on the side?
Oh, it's gonna roll down. I mean, if it were starting at 106, I say it would go down to the bottom left because of the slope, and that's where all the drainage is gonna be.
Left or bottom right?
Why wouldn't you say bottom left?
It's bottom right, right?
Yeah.
Bottom right. I'm trying to make sure that we understand each other. So actually what you're saying is, because the lowest point is to the southeast, then if the water is running off this side because of rain or something, it might collect on this corner. But actually, yeah, right?
Right.
I'm saying might because I don't know what's happening after our site. If the property line is actually only stopping at 100, but if we enlarge the area, we will find that actually topography continues like in the same pattern, like it goes 99, 98 and things. So actually the 100 line will not mean that water will collect there. But if we look at the site, the bigger picture, and see that the lowest point in the whole area is like 100 or 99, then we might expect water to collect here, right? So what happens is this site will have a normal movement of surface water, as we call it. And actually, sometimes we call that hydrography. What does it mean? Hydrography. It means that the natural features of the site will make water, without any intervention of ours, moving from one side of our site here, from here, going all the way to this area, right? You see the arrow now? Do you see any arrows on your screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, very good. Very good. I'm just experimenting. This is my own laptop. So, okay. So actually, why going diagonal? Because the lowest point is in the southeast corner. But what happens with water dropping here? It might also still go like that, but it might not reach that point. Might not go there, or it might. I don't know. What happens to the water dropping like in here? It will go like that, but not necessarily going here. But yeah, it might, or it might just continue out of the site. So we have some probability in this site that water will collect in this corner, or at least we know that water will go in that direction. Okay. We can also discover something about this slope, that if I just change the pen here. And if I'm going like that across the site, I would see that the section for the site will go from 113, which is the highest, going down, 111, and then between 111, it's a little bit bigger distance. So the slope will just ease a little bit, and then it will continue. And then we have, like, when it comes to here, it will be a little bit steep. So I will have a steeper slope at the end of the site on the southeast corner of the site. I will have a steeper slope, while on the western side of the site, I will have a gentler slope. That's also, I mean, it's just given to me from just looking at the map. This is what I see. I see that the site is almost evenly graded, except for a little bit of the eastern side. It has a little bit of a steeper slope. Meaning what? Meaning that this whole area between these elevation lines here, the slope is how much? I mean, I need here, like, let me see whether I have a yeah, there is a scale here. So actually having a scale here, I can use to understand, okay, what is the slope? If this is like 15 feet, wow, it should be like 150 feet, not 15 feet. Anyway, so actually, yeah, I have a scale here, and it shows me like there's a scale, but I think the scale here is drawn not the right way, because if this is like 5 feet, this tree cannot be 5 feet. There's something wrong with the scale. But anyway, I can actually tell about the slope here. Let's imagine that there is a missing 0 here. So actually it's like 50 feet or something. So it's like 50, 100, 150. This makes sense. Or maybe instead of 5, it's 20 or something. Anyway, so actually it tells me also that if I measure the distance, like go back in up there, if I measure the distance between these 2 lines here, or these 2 lines, or whatever lines I have, I can actually tell you what is the slope. And we need this. Slope is what? Slope is the vertical distance, which here is referred to by the difference between the grading lines, like here it's 110, 100, 111, 110, 109, and 108. So actually between these 2 lines here, between this point and that point here on these 2 lines, the distance is vertically, it's only 3 feet, right? Between 108 and 111. So actually it's 3 feet. But horizontally, you walked like, say, 30 feet. You can walk 30 feet and drop in elevation only 3 feet. So actually, this is like 1 to 10. Why do we always reference 1 to 12 in landscape? Because this is the approved slope for handicap movement. You cannot have a handicap movement if you are having any slope steeper than 1 to 12. And 1 to 12 also is very convenient, because it means that you drop 1 inch while you walk 12 inch, which means that in 1 feet, you drop what it's 1 inch to a feet. right? 112 is kind of a magic number. We use it a lot in landscaping and in design of any site, because we understand that we cannot actually, or we should not, because this is a code, and I will talk about that in a second. This is a code. And what does it mean? It means that it is defined by a law, which is American Disability Act, which was enacted into a law, meaning that you can be approved or disapproved by this law. So if you are doing anything steeper than 1 to 12, they can come back to you and say, well, this is not legal. You cannot do that. You have to redesign and make it at least 1 to 12. So if I'm having 3, like in 30, it means 1 to 10. So this is not really an acceptable slope for the handicaps. It might need to be at least 3 to 36. So if I'm seeing a map like this, I will have to do something about the slope and make it 3 to 36 to make it acceptable by the American Disability Act. And to make a ramp, let's imagine from this point to somewhere here, I will have to first measure it to make it 36. As you can see, it's not perpendicular, because if it is perpendicular, it will not make the necessary slope. It will be like 1 to 10 maybe. And now I have to increase the distance and to make the slope less, like 1 to 12 or more. And we'll talk about this also. And if it is 1 to 12, it is acceptable. I can do a pedestrian path with 1 to 12 slope, which is 1 inch per foot. But actually it is 1 inch to 12 inches. What happens then? It is acceptable. The law will allow you to do that. But it will tell you also that if you are having this pedestrian path go like that, you will need to protect those handicapped people from slipping on the side or dropping out by having a handrail. So if I'm drawing a section somewhere in here and I'm having this is my pedestrian walk and somebody is in here, so actually you need to have a handrail on both sides. You have to have a handrail on both sides, and this handrail should be around 36 inches high. There are other restrictions, but now let us just understand this. If I'm doing something for pedestrians on this side, it needs to be at least 1 to 12 to be acceptable. And that means it is acceptable, but now you have to protect people who are using this sidewalk by adding handrails on both sides, not on one side. What happens, as we have seen on AMU campus site, that if you are having this going like that, like on one side it's high and on one side it's low, then it might be on one side. But actually, no. Actually, the code says on both sides if it is for handicaps. But I mean, this is a different story. So actually, if I'm doing something, I need to reach this thing here, which is a plateau or like a picnic area in a park or something. It's just a slab, a concrete slab on which I'm gonna put a shade and some chairs, benches for the people to use. So actually I need to connect here. But if I continue with the same in the same direction like that, I don't know whether this will be also having the same slope. So I might need to change that again and make it a little bit longer, going like that. Can you see that? So, I mean, here, even with that, I might not be able to do it like this, because here they are the elevation lines are very close. So this will make it very steep. So going from point A to point B is 1 to 12. From point B to point C might be also 1 to 12. Then if I want to travel more, here becomes a real issue, a real problem. So what happens here? I'm faced with this line, which is very steep. I cannot do that. So if I want to do continue with my ramp going on, I might not be able to enter from this side, and I might have to go like that and come back to make it 1 to 12. So actually between points C and D, it might go like this. Okay. So this is a first thing. If I'm seeing a site like this, and it's one of the requirements, it does. I mean, nobody will tell you that it has to be accessible, because now it is understood that it has to be. I mean, it is not kind of a question in every site. Do I have to respond to the ADA? Yes, you have to. Even with course lectures and things, we are requested to do that, to make it accessible. And now we are talking about people who might have some form of a visual discomfort when we change colors, or there's kind of flashing light. That's why they when they are showing something on TV with flashing lights and things, they say before that comes that this episode will have like flashing lights and things to warn people that this, I mean, if somebody is having a case or something that he will not be able to tolerate, that he will have to make his decision to watch or not to watch. So actually now, if I'm doing this and this here, I don't know how to change the color. Yeah, it's here. So actually with this slab here, where I need to put my picnic tables and things, I might not be able to enter from this side unless I do stairs. And if I do stairs, it's not accessible for everybody, but for the rest of the population who will have to have the slope, they will have to go all the way around and come from the back, maybe, or make this the real entrance and just put these stairs as secondary or something. So, I mean, this will impact on your design. If I'm doing on campus, we had a lot of ideas when we were in our visits to the campus. And I think someone said, wow, this is a beautiful spot. Let me clear something here. It's a beautiful spot to add something like a place for students to study, or like a place on the side of the sidewalk so that students can sit here, or just stand, enjoy the site, sit and do studying, make a little bit of steps here so that students can sit on, have internet service. I mean, whatever you want. So actually, this will also mean what? It means that even when I'm thinking about this, I will see how would this be accessible. I would try to do things that goes with the slope of the sidewalk, or I'm sorry, of the path or the pedestrian walk, so that each of these steps might be entered also from the ramp. So actually, they are not like steps 7 by 11 or something inches, but maybe 7 by 25 or 30 or something, big steps. So they can have a good slope beside the path, so you can actually enter each of these steps if you want to have all of these as accessible. And by the way, 36 inches is the least acceptable path if you're having people with disabilities. 36 inches. It will allow a wheelchair to pass by. If you are having 2 wheelchairs passing by at the same at one point. This should be like 60, at least 60, 5 feet. So you're having 5 feet. If it is like two-way, and 36 if it is one-way. That's the least allowed width if you're having people with disability on site. If I'm doing this, I mean, let us think about what are we doing actually to the grading. Last time we talked about our pedestrian walk, and we said what would happen if we are building on a slope like that, and we drew the pedestrian walk, and we said if we do that, it will mean that we need to fill some part, like bring fill to make this structurally stable, and maybe have a little bit of cut on this side. And we talked about that cut and fill should be kind of almost equal, because we said also that we might, instead of having the handrail, if it is expensive, we might have like a berm or something. So actually this is more fill or even structure. But anyway, so actually we are talking about here what happens to our grading. Let me erase this to make sure that it doesn't really disturb you. Okay, so let me see whether I can actually enlarge this. Yeah, I can. Okay. So what happens here? Let me draw it again. So actually what we did is have a little bit of an area with steps. And we said that steps should be at least 36 inches because this is the least allowed for people with disability. And now we are having, yeah, continue with this. So actually in this area here, it looks like it's almost, it's not really flat, but it is between two areas, like between two lines, between lines of 109 and 108. Okay, so it's almost flat. I mean, from this point here, how do I do that? From this point here to this point here, it's like the difference is only 1 foot. And it's sloping. I mean, yeah, anyway, we are not actually after anything that's completely flat. Even if the whole site is flat, we need to have 1/4 of an inch in each foot to make sure that water will not collect. It's a very slight slope, and we make it to make sure that water will not collect in that area. 1/4 of an inch is really nothing, but it just makes water run through the site. Anyway, so between the 109 and 108, I'm having this flat, almost flat area, and I can have like seating, like benches, like an umbrella or something. I mean, whatever I need to have here. So actually this will be a good area to have a flat surface. This whole area. It doesn't mean that it's completely flat. It means that it's almost flat or it slopes very gently. When we said that the maximum slope for any ADA approved pedestrian path is 1/12, we didn't mean that we cannot do it 1/20 or 1/30 or 1/50, meaning that the slope is even gentler. A good advantage of having, let me go back to here. If it is 1, let me draw here. If it is 1 to 12, you will need to have handrails. If it is 1 to 20 or more, actually more than 120. No, less than. So actually, you don't need a handrail. Meaning what? Meaning that if I'm constructing a site like that, and I'm faced with this here, and this is 1 to 12, I'll have to provide handrails on the side. If I decide to make this 120 or more, like go, instead of going from here, I will go from here and I will move something like that. So at the end, it's like 120 or something. If I'm starting point A instead of here, it will be here. And this slope will be 1 to 20. I will not need a handrail. If you imagine that this is a real project, then I'm actually saving big bucks, a lot of money. I'm saving a lot of hassle for construction and for the landscaper and for everybody. If it is 120, I'm having this gentler slope. And I'm not obliged, I'm not asked, it doesn't really go by the law that I have to have a handrail. I can have no handrails. Good. If it is 120 or 1 to 21 or 1 to 30 or 1 to 40. Okay. So going back to this area here, which I will maybe use another color. Like here. For this area, if it is not really, I mean, the best thing is to be like 1/4 of an inch for every foot or something, just to make it drain naturally. But I think up to 1 to 30, it is okay. Up to 120 even, it is okay. The slope 1 to 20 is okay for a flat area like that, because it still is safe. If it is more than 1 to 20, it is considered not safe without handrail. If it is 112, it is considered safe if it has a handrail. If it doesn't have a handrail, it's not safe. 120, it is considered safe without a handrail. That's the big difference. And that will go also for this step here. And if I need other steps, like one here maybe, or one here. So actually these steps, the area for students seating, will be like, if it is 120 or gentler, it will be allowed without handrails. And back to that connection here, if I need to still have it, let me go back to this. And if I want to continue with this line here, let me go back to it. If I want to go back to this line here, if it's making 120, which might be possible in this case, because actually this lies between 108 and 107 only, and I can extend it as much as I can, so I can still go with 120 with no handrail. So actually I can start from here, from A, going to B, going to C with no handrails, no problems with that. If I want to, in an area like this, to go a little bit sharper, like I don't want people to actually go all the way up to here. So actually in this section only of the pedestrian walk, I will need, it's obligatory here, that I will have to have a handrail. Let me put it in a different color. So here I will need to have a handrail. Both sides. It's not like I'm doing this because I'm a good man. No, I have to. If I don't do it, they will not accept my design, and I will have to maybe pay for them to build it later if I insist. So actually, the best thing strategy is to go with these slopes all the way from point A, B, C with no handrail. Between C and point D, I have now handrails. And if I extend this in front of my pavilion, I don't need a handrail on the side of the pavilion, but I will need one maybe on this side if the slope here is really steep. But if you can notice here that I'm actually parallel to the contour level, making it almost flat. And as I said, what happens if it is really flat? I said that we have to have some slope to make sure that water doesn't collect, but that slope doesn't have to be in the longitudinal direction. I mean, it doesn't have to be sloping in that direction or in that direction. It can be sloping in the shortest of directions. Like if I'm having here, if it was like at least 36 and here still going, or maybe like 48 or something. So one quarter to a foot will mean that in 48 inches, which is 4 feet, I will be having only 1 inch of slope between this side and that side. So actually it will be sloping to this side just to get rid of water. If I'm having something like that and then it is very steep, I mean, let's finish with this. So actually I can do that, and then I will talk about this a little bit in. Okay. So actually now if I want to finish my pedestrian connection, if I can, I would always like to allow for a different way out, maybe here or something like that in here, connecting back to this space. So actually it has also this slope of 1 to 20 if I can. I don't want people to act all the time. If I'm the designer, I don't like them to go in this direction. Till they reach the destination, which is here, the pavilion slab. And then when they want to go home, they will have to go the same way. It's kind of a little bit of boring. There is no problem of doing that. I mean, it's not like a big mistake or something, but to make people enjoy their walks, even if it is like everyday walk, like if they have to go to campus and go from one class to the next, and when they finish, they don't have to go in the same path. Maybe there is another path going from here to there, and then they will connect to some part of this and just continue. So usually when we do something like this, a pavilion or something, I would really like for the entry path to be different from the exit path. This is not like buildings where you're having a fire problem or a fire hazard and you have to have like 2 exits or something, but it's like for the enjoyment, because if there is a problem here, I mean, whatever happens, you can use the other pedestrian path. So actually, with this design here, let me try to like draw it with cleaner lines. Maybe use this color here. So actually I will be having my pedestrian path going all the way from here to here. With why is it going like a snake like that? Because this makes it 1 to 20. And then even here, I'm moving like that till I reach this area where I'm making like a side space or a pocket where students can just take their breath for a while or just stop, meet a friend or something. If this was like 1 to 12, there is also another restriction on the by the ADA. You cannot go anything higher. I mean, if it is like 1 to 12, and you're going all the way from this point here, down, 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 all 1 to 12, every distance of a distance that conveys you by like I think 30 inches, like elevation. If you drop, no, I'm not doing this. If you drop in elevation by 30 inches, then you have to have like a flat area. Let me draw it again. So actually, if it was 1 to 12, what would happen is something like that. I would go like that, 1 to 12, and then there will be a flat area here. And then 1 to 12 again till I drop 30 inches, and then a flat area again, and so on. So actually 1 to 12 slope is acceptable, is allowable, but it comes with many restrictions. If I am working with 1 to 20, as I'm trying to convince you now, this will be much easier. It will just go all the way. So actually what I'm gonna do is just have the pedestrian path go all the way from here to the end and back. And this all doesn't need no resting areas and no handrails and no nothing. You just connect with that. Very good. So that's a good start. I will stop for like maybe 5 minutes and ask you. I will start with Everett. Would you have any other design opinions on this? Everett. Maybe he's not with us. Everett? I hope you are not driving.
Yes, can you hear me?
I hope you are not driving, Everett.
I can hear you.
Okay.
Hello?
Hello, did you hear my question?
I did not hear your question.
Please stop driving, Everett, please.
I'm not driving at all.
Okay, very good. Okay, so my question was, would you have, I mean, now we are,
I got it.
okay, now we're designing a pedestrian path with a slope of 1 to 20 to avoid handrails and avoid these stops for each 30-inch drop of the elevation. What else would you like to do in a site like this, where you have to connect from point here, like point what? Before A is what? Like point Z to A, B, C, D, and back. What would you like? I mean, what comes to your mind of any other proposals?
For pedestrians, right?
Yeah.
You said pedestrians is 30 feet elevation drop. Whew. I mean, I'm sold on, and I'm sold on the whole like building something where it could be not too steep, but at the same time like not too harsh on the legs, as in like I said, the steps, as in like if you walk in, it's like a flat.
Well, look, steps are not allowed by the ADA code. It's not allowed.
Okay.
But let me take it. I mean,
zigzag it then.
Well, yeah, we can do that. But let me just direct your attention that I've been talking about slope from the beginning. But actually, when we started doing this on the map, did you notice that we have like trees? These are existing trees.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was drawing in here, I made sure that this area here to the northeast is actually touching on the trees, but not really going through the trees, because I don't want to remove any trees. And if this was like a main thing, as I did here, I passed between two trees, I passed by this tree, but here I passed a little bit away from the trees. If this was something that you would like to do, like how would you like to plan your pedestrian path with trees? Would you like to go like closer here on the western side, like closer to the trees, or even pass through between the trees? I mean, it depends. This is really design. Now it comes to be a design thing. So it might be something that you want to add to the site. It might be that, no, I'm not interested in having this as 1 to 20. I'll do it 1 to 12, but I will put these handrails to make it like a little bit of interesting, every like 100 feet or something of this design. Let me draw it again, like coming like that. And then I would say, okay, let me do a little bit of a steeper part here and do handrails. So this will be kind of an interesting pedestrian path where you go.
If you
Yeah, go
don't
ahead.
go off design, like, I mean, I feel like if you make something looking nice around the trees or anything like that, going towards that 30, as going down that 30-foot drop, you know, I say make it look nice so people can kind of take. I mean, think
You
about it,
mean
like, for example, on
planting new
campus.
trees? Do you
Yeah,
mean planting new trees?
Yeah, it's just,
That's a good
and I'm
thing.
planting new
Yeah.
trees, plants, anything, like something that makes it look
Very good. Very good.
good.
I'm actually happy with this because now we have another thing to think about. Would you like the trees to be on both sides or just to like use as landmarks or to highlight an area? Like here, I'll put some trees, but I won't put on the other side because I will be actually, this is the direction of my view. If I'm sitting in this area, my views will be going like that or going to this pavilion. But actually, I cannot look back because this is higher. It will not be a convenient way to look. Yeah, that's a good thing. So actually using trees, I might use trees to accentuate or to highlight what I'm doing. Some people will design it as what we call formal design, when we really add trees like every 20, 30 feet, we'll have a couple of trees on both sides. That's very formal. That's very formal. But if you have like a tree here, like what's happening actually here, or 3 trees here, 2 trees here, and then you pass by between them, and then a third tree, and I mean, make it kind of interesting. Thank you, Everett. Thank you. I will ask also
You're welcome.
Mr. Brooks, Jacob. Jacob, are you still here? Doesn't look like it.
I am.
Yeah, Jacob. Okay. Tell me what else would you like to do with this very simple design of a pedestrian path that comes from this corner point here and goes all the way down to the pavilion and back? What would you like to add? What would you like to do?
Did you already talk about the lighting?
I didn't talk about that. That's a good point. So actually, but first, what do you mean by lighting?
Like the street, I mean, it gets nighttime, the street lamps.
Yeah, well, you said the proper term, night light. So actually, this is a decision. Would you like to decide for this park to work at night?
Yes.
Okay, that's a good decision. Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit of a costly decision, but yeah, why not? So actually, in some places, parks might work at night, but as I understand, in most of the states, in most of the cities, actually, most of the parks will close at night. So actually, there is a big sign in every park saying that this park will close like 1 hour after sunset or something like that, or at sunset or something. But yeah, that's a good idea. Okay, let's imagine that this park actually needs to open sometime at night, or actually maybe this is like the botanical garden here in Huntsville, where people sometimes go at night. So actually, yeah, that's a good idea. Okay, where would you like to have the lights here? What would the light look like, the light post?
Like what I'm thinking is around the sides. Like
No,
how
let's start by saying, okay, are you thinking of this kind of lighting, like a lantern, like something like that, like the classic thing? Or are you thinking of a street light?
I mean, it's just a park, right? It's not any type of
Or a
like,
bollard, a small bollard like that, and it's lighting from here? What do you think? Or a combination?
yeah, that's what I was kind of wondering, because depending on, because you have this loop right here,
Mm-hmm.
and you could use a much taller, like broader light, you know, because you're going to be covering an area like that instead of going along the sides with it.
You mean if I might, I will just say, okay, I'll do this. So actually I will select like here, maybe few highlights like this street light here.
Yeah.
Uh, Personally, I don't like them, but it doesn't matter. Yeah, I can have these here because this area is actually connecting between different parts of the loop, but I will go with this other lantern-like lighting, maybe along the path, because this is more of a pedestrian thing and it doesn't really, I mean, it gives a feeling of intimacy if you are having these lights here. Or maybe the bollards. The bollards are very small things and they can only light your pedestrian path. I mean, they don't really light the skies, or you cannot use them to light people's faces. But it is like lighting the path itself. Sometimes they're even smaller on the side, like something like that. And they are just lighting the path. So very small things. Okay, so actually thank you very much, Jacob. Thank you. So actually lighting might be another thing to do. And now to Anisha, what do you think? What would you add? What would you change? I know it's now is a little bit more difficult because the easy thing will be like to do the greenery and lighting, hand railing and things. But what do you think?
I'd like, with the road being designed that way, I'd probably want to have proper drainage so that when it rains, the water isn't like just all over the place. It would actually flow along the side of the road in a drain.
No, say this again. You're actually talking about rain drainage, right?
Yeah.
That's a very good point, because if you remember when we started, we said something about where would the water go, and we said that water will go like that. So most of what we have done is actually against this, because if we build this kind of a pedestrian walk like that, it might not allow drainage. What would we do to do that? I mean, if you are having this figure, I mean, this kind of pedestrian walk as we designed it, and now you need to allow water to pass through from here, what would you do? Would you allow water to pass on top of the sidewalk, or would you like
No,
for the water to?
I'd have it like go below, like those pipes.
Yeah, okay,
You
culverts.
can actually see
Yeah,
them
thank you. So actually you're talking
below.
about culverts. So actually I can have culverts here going beneath. And since this is not really, I mean, like a big park with a lot of area, and you're not expecting a lot of rain to pass through, so maybe there are like a 2-inch pipe or 1.5-inch pipes going beneath. That's a good idea. Yes, that's one of the feeling. But also you mentioned something in the beginning that you said, I want water to run by the site, which means that I would allow water to run like in here, what we
Yes,
call
like in
swales.
gutters.
Yeah, we call it this swales or something. or gutters, but gutters is for homes, but actually swales or something. So actually you can allow water to come here and then continue its natural trip. But in this area, it will be difficult. So I might have like culverts or something, or if I'm making sure that it won't take my pedestrian path away, I might actually allow the water to pass on top, like make this area with some good material. So when the water comes, it doesn't really destroy the pedestrian path that I'm designing. It passes on top. Thank you. That's a good thought. So if it passes on top of this and then it continues, it can actually go to the end of the site without having any trouble. And any water coming here, it will go by the side. Any water coming here, it will go by the side. And to avoid water collecting here, I might make a slope like that. So actually water will come to this area and just drain naturally. Thank you. That's a good thing. Callie, what do you think?
I would probably still have shortcuts, even if they are a little steep, just because people who like are running late or something.
That's a good idea also. That's a good idea. Where would you like to have that? I'm sorry that I don't know how would I allow you to draw, but let me imagine. Are you talking about this area, like having a shortcut in here?
Yeah, because I know that if I have to keep looping around when I'm running late, I'd probably just not go.
Okay, so actually, I mean, now we have to solve this issue of how would be the slope. How would you deal with the slope here?
I mean, you could do those long stairs. It's not ADA accessible, but the rest of it is.
All right, okay, I'll accept that. So actually, you will make like a shortcut, but it doesn't have to be an ADA accessible.
Yes.
Very good. We can do that. We can definitely do that. But I would just make it maybe a little bit of a little bit longer here, and only when I have to have it 1 to 12 or with stairs, I will just maybe do some stairs here in this area, and then the rest of it will still be like a pedestrian path. Let me use this. Thank you. So actually, I'll have only the steps in this area, but the rest of it will be like a sloped axis without being ADA approved or something. Yeah, I might do that. Or actually do it all as stairs if you don't mind that. So yeah, that's a good idea. So actually now you see how it developed. We started with a plain sheet of paper with only like few elevations drawn on. And when we started thinking, now we are creating ideas. And we might call that landscape design or landscape planning or whatever you call it, but that's what we need to do is, okay, we are working with the site, but with restrictions of the code. And usually the most effective code in these situations will be the ADA code. And there are other things like, okay, I was preparing something else for this session, but I would just leave it for maybe next week. Okay, let's imagine that we are working, we did our pedestrian path, and now we are left with this big area of the site where we didn't really talk about here. And from the beginning, we knew that this area is actually the steepest. This is a steep area. How would you deal with this? I mean, should I just put ground cover? And what would be a restriction on the ground cover? If I want to have this, because this is steep, let's imagine that it is like 1 to maybe 20 or 25. So actually it's very steep for even walking. What would I do with this area? And if I decide to make it like having grass or ground cover, what should I think about? Let me start again with Everett. Hello, Everett. Okay, Jacob.
Can you repeat the question?
Yes, sure. I'm saying that we didn't talk about this part of the site here to the east, south. And this area here is actually steep. It's like maybe 1 to 25 or something. I'm sorry. It might be 1 to 5 or 1 to 10. I'm sorry. 1 to 5 or 1 to 5, which is like 25% slope. I'm sorry. That's what I meant. 25% slope or higher. If it is 1 to 5, it's almost 20% slope, but it might be even more. What should I do if I want to have, like, we decided not to use it because it's too steep? Can you use it for like allowing your kids to play on?
I mean, since it's like, I mean, it's not too steep, but it still is a hill, and kids can get here with anything.
Okay, so what you're trying to discuss with me, that it might be okay for kids. So actually, do we have a standard for what is a good slope to allow children safely to play on? What do you think this will be? Actually, there is a standard.
What is it?
I believe it's it's like 5% or 7%, up to 7%. Any picnic area is allowed, even if it is like flat, or 3%, up to 5%, maybe 7% in some cases, but 10% is not allowed, or higher for children, because then you might have an accident or something. So actually, it's up to like maybe 5% or 7%.
This one up to 7%.
No, this area, I said, let's imagine that it is 25%.
25.
Yeah, that's very steep. Very steep.
Like scenery stuff, or just something to look at, but you can't.
Okay, so very good. I'm happy with this. So actually, I'll do ground cover. Is there something that you need to take care of when it is ground cover?
Yes.
What?
All right, I lied. When I said yes, I was just agreeing with you. I don't.
Thinking, still thinking. Okay, how would you mow it? Would you allow it to just grow like that?
No, you gotta put a 0 turn on it.
So mowing is an issue here, and believe it or not, these people thought about everything. So they're saying that anything that exceeds 33%, you cannot mow. I mean, it's unsafe for the guy who's mowing, even if it is like manual. It is not safe. So actually, for anything steeper than 33%, which is the ultimate limit for mowing, is 33% slope. So if it is 1 to 25%, yeah, you can do that because you still can mow it. Or you will decide to have a ground cover that doesn't need mowing, like having one of these cactus things that actually spreads around and doesn't go any higher. It just sticks to the ground, but it kind of stabilizes the slope. So actually, when it rains, the rain will not take the dirt away. It will not destroy the site. So actually, sometimes we do ground cover. If it doesn't need mowing, if you cannot mow it up to 33%, you need to do things like maybe just have ground cover that doesn't need any mowing. Or, you think about something. Some people do shrubs, by the way, or allow it to just grow naturally. So whatever happens, happens, like an English garden. So you just leave it. Maybe some people go selectively and introduce some shrubs, trees, and things. So actually, it looks like a forest. If you are interested in, if this 100 level was the area where water was collected. Now you'll have a wetland, and you'll have like animals, and you'll have birds and insects and things. So actually, maybe you leave this as natural. But if you're not thinking about leaving it natural and you want to mow it, the slope has to be less than 33%. Let me write it down here. I will not actually, go further, because I know that even here it will be a big thing. We'll talk maybe about it next week. So actually, what happens if it is like 50% slope? Impossible for mowing, but you still want to have a mowed, mowing for the grass. You need to match your neighbor's grass. And so actually, to have grass, you have to mow it. So what would you do if it is like 50% slope?
Weed eat it.
What? I'm sorry?
Weed eat it.
How would
Like
you do that?
with a weed eater.
Weed
eater.
Not
Like
really.
you can't do that. I mean, it's not a push mower or anything, and it's like for the slope. I mean, you're on your two legs.
I know, but no, you don't do that. This is still, if it is like a public place, it's very dangerous. We don't do that. But there are other ways of changing the slope. So actually, you will maybe have, I didn't want to do that, but actually, if I have a wall like that here, and then have this slope to be 33% and this slope to be 33%, and then it works. But anyway, we'll talk about this maybe next time. Thank you very much for attending, the four of you. I just want to tell you that I will put this recording on, and I will ask you to I will upload the map, and I will ask you to draw exactly what we have done today on your map and post it. This is your assignment for today. I don't know about the other guys who didn't attend. I hope they are okay, but actually their grades will reflect their attendance. I hope they have something super that they are doing now, not to attend. Anyway, thank you very much. I enjoyed this session. I hope you did too. We are meeting this Thursday in class 222 in the Carver, and we will be working on a similar assignment. Thank you very much. Anybody wants to say something, tell me something? Callie, Anisha,
I'm
Everett.
heading over there with the map right now.
Oh, the map, if you are in the department, you don't have to wait for me. Just leave it with Ms. Weaver.
Okay.
Yeah. And Callie, Everett, Jacob, any questions, any comments? All right. Thank you very much. Please submit the assignment and I will post it now. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.